I'll see you guys in the dark.
A while ago, my mom broke up with her then-boyfriend, Jack. Why? He's a liar, a cheater, and only stayed with my mom because it gave him and his asshole son a place to stay. Jack has borderline personality disorder, a condition in which people have long-term patterns of unstable emotions, such as feelings about themselves and others. My mother is outside talking to him as I write this. Also, he lives about 5 minutes up the road from us in a cheap little apartment, as he is unemployed right now. Anyway, he left her alone for a few months. When she got a new boyfriend, this one is actually pretty kind. He started texting her, calling her a slut and a whore because she found someone that is a good person and actually employed. His name is Gene Lewis. We call him J-Lo. My mom usually ignored him, but what started it all was one 2-minute phone call. He had called her multiple times, but this one time she picked up, and they had a good chat. He said he was having problems with finding a job and money, which means he's currently staying with his drug and alcohol addict ex-con brothers. After the phone call, he started hanging around our house. One day he showed up and talked to my mom for a bit, and then left. On another day, he stopped at the end of our driveway and talked to my sister and I. He talked to us both, but to me mostly. He said things like, "I hear you're really into Green Day, and I'm really sorry for what I did to your mom. I really do miss you guys." About a week after this, he stopped by while my mom wasn't home and asked to take us out for ice cream. I didn't go, thinking, yeah, all right, we're gonna fucking get kidnapped, or probably worse. There was no way in hell I'm going with you. My sister, however, went with him, and apparently oblivious and completely letting her guard down. But at least if he did kidnap her, he'd have a witness. Today I was in the bathroom just brushing my hair, so the bathroom door was open, and that's when I heard a little click noise. I realized instantly what it was. It was the front screen door. The motherfucker let himself into our house. He walked down the hallway and asked if it was okay if he talked to my mom. She was in her room sleeping, and I hate waking her up, but I do not want to piss this guy off at all. I told him sure, and he went on in, and she talked to him for a little bit, and then he left. The scariest incident, for now, happened a few hours later, and about 20 minutes ago. Every year my town has a cactus festival, which my mom, sister, J-Lo, and I went to. Now we leave the door open because we have 2 big dogs that could scare away anyone that tried to get into our house. But since they knew Jack, they let him in the house. He let himself into our house while we weren't home, completely freaking shit-faced, and went and fell asleep on my mom's bed even though we weren't home. When we got home, I sat in the living room and started browsing Reddit when I heard my mom, who had just gone into her room, saying, "Get the fuck out of my house." He refused to go. She threatened to call the police, and he still wouldn't leave. My mom is a good person, and even though he's stalking her, she won't call the police because she knows he's having problems. I keep telling her that it doesn't matter how many problems he's got. He can't just waltz into our house uninvited. But she will not listen to me at all. All that aside, she eventually managed to get him to walk to the front door, but he wouldn't go any further, and my mom had to use force to get him out the front door. Once he was out, he started walking away, but quickly came back. He said if she talked to him, he would go away and never come back. And if he does, my mom will call the cops. My mom talked to him for a good 15 minutes, and he's gone now. Hopefully, he won't come back. I'll keep updated if I have to, if he happens to come back or not. So anyways, Mom's ex-boyfriend, don't ever come back to the house. You're creepy, and we don't want you in our lives ever again. Since this happened several years ago, I might get some parts mixed up, or some events I may have forgotten, so I'll try to retell my experience the best that I can. I also apologize for not being a good writer. It's probably going to be all jumbled up and confusing, but please bear with me. A bit of backstory. When I was a little kid, me and my mom would visit my grandparents, and we would all go to church together when we would visit from out of town. I had a friend at the church who I would be super excited to visit every time I went. We would talk a lot about Pokemon and just stuff we liked in general. Around the time I started puberty, he seemed to be attracted to me. He would hug me and ruffle my hair. He was a big guy, always wore the same yellow shirt. It seemed innocent for a while, and we sort of had a relationship for a few months. Everything was good up until we were dating. I was probably around 16, and he was several years older than me. He one day confided in me that he would see angels, and he was given a sword from Jesus to fight demons. Yes, he really said that. He said that he could see angels, and that Jesus Christ himself gave him a sword, which he stores in his body to fight demons. And as stupid as I was, I believed him. I don't know why I did. The times where I wasn't visiting, he would talk over Steam, where we played TF2 most of the time. He would tell me these stories of fighting demons, and would talk to me through his angel, and it got so much weirder from there. He would tell me how I would be his princess in heaven, and that we would rule together. That's around the time I started getting uncomfortable and weirded out whenever he would try to hug or go further with me. At one point, over an incident I can go over later, I tried to cut ties with him and break up. He would not have it one bit. He would continuously send me emails begging for me to come back, and how I was making a bad choice leaving him. The last time I came into contact with him was also the last time I went to that church. Me and my mom and little brother all had to go to the church for a small get-together for my grandma's birthday party. Knowing the ex's family caters church events, I knew in my gut he was going to probably be there. My mom told me not to worry about it when I knew that something was going to happen. When we arrived, I told my mom I was going into a room where the little kids were playing at, where I knew I would be safe while we waited for the cake. I luckily brought my DS to distract myself and sat down to play. All of a sudden, I felt like someone was looming over me. A big presence. I knew it was him. I instantly went into flight mode and ran and hid around the church until he stopped following and looking for me. My mom and my brother instantly took me back to the house after I came out of hiding, and I never went back to that church. I hope we never ever meet again. He is just creepy, and I do not want anything to do with him anymore. In college, a while ago now, I got into a relationship with a guy. He was fine until he found Jesus. He quickly went crazy, claiming demons spoke to him, trying to buy weapons from some shady friends we had, fantasizing about how he would hurt people, and becoming incredibly controlling and physically abusive, nearly killing me a few times. Needless to say, I got the fuck out after a few threats and really crazy behaviors. He left me alone for a while, and I thought that was that. I was headed to my dorm after a meeting one night when I decided to pass it and go to the student union, which was right down the street, just to get some ice cream. As I passed the dorm, I heard steps behind me. I turned around, and I thought I saw someone in a white shirt duck behind a big signboard. I kept walking, listening carefully. I heard something move and whipped around again. There, a person his size, staring at me from behind a tree. I couldn't see very well, but it really looked like him. I was mildly freaked out by then, but just walked a little bit faster. I'd hear the occasional footsteps and breathing behind me, but I didn't dare stop or let on that I knew someone, probably him, was there. I knew he owned a gun and would likely put a bullet into me given the chance. He was that psycho and upset that I dared to break up with him. I walked all the way to the union and got some ice cream and sat there in the store eating it, unwilling to go back into the unlit street in case it was my crazy armed ex. I still hadn't mustered the nerve to head back when my phone buzzed. My heart just fell out of my chest when I saw the message. It was some of my friends, a sweet couple. They'd been walking way behind me when they saw something that alarmed them enough to text me. "Your ex is walking around the street." They called me before I could even get the text back to them. "Where are you? Your ex is prowling around here near your dorm. He was coming back from the direction of the Union. I think he had a gun. Was he with you? What's going on?" Panicking, I assured them that I had not been with him, but someone who looked like him had been following me, and I was up at the Union, and I was too scared to go back alone. They practically yelled at me to stay there and not go anywhere, and that they were coming to get me. A few minutes later, they came running into the Union, breathless, eyes wide, asking me why he was by my dorm and what had happened. This is possibly what scared me the most. The boyfriend, who is a black belt in karate and is never scared, looked absolutely terrified. He was coiled into some kind of fighting stance and looking around wildly, afraid that my ex would appear with his gun. They told me they were taking me back to my dorm and calling the cops. They sandwiched me between them, and we walked back to my dorm as quickly as we dared. The boyfriend walked in front, yelling into the darkness that my ex had better not try anything. I let the two of them into my dorm, and we went up to my room, where my roommates put in a frantic call to the police. As we peeked out the window facing the street and the side of the dorm, there he was, lurking in the trees to the side of the dorm, looking upwards. A streetlight reflected something in his hand, something shiny. I saw him tug at the .22 I realized he was carrying, and look up. We locked eyes, and I saw this kind of rage in his eyes that froze me. In that moment, I knew he really was out to kill me, and my friends, and I had foiled him this time. He quickly turned and ran away through the trees. We didn't know whether he would come back and try to break in or something. So we called the police again, and lo and behold, sirens within minutes, and officers with guns drawn combing the area. They caught him a few hours later, still with the .22 in his hand. He confessed he was, indeed, going to try to kill me if he had the chance, but he didn't want to take pop shots at me with my friends there. Apparently I had just broken up with him. I was given over to Satan, and he had the duty to make sure that I died and went to hell. Of course, he went to jail, and later to a mental hospital. I moved out of the dorm a week later. I just couldn't live with the thought that he could break out and come after me again. I got some cop friends to keep an eye on my roommates until they could move out too. I was never really the same after all of this. I was so afraid and paranoid for years. Now I can be out and about without any fear, but I still have nightmares about him staring at me through the trees, gun in hand and rage in his eyes.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos, and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.